So we're just going to start from the beginning. This is the first day of Super Rainbow Reef. We're going to do the first room and the last room. That's kind of a weird way to do it. We have a starter screen with some buttons on it, and then we also have a ending screen that has a congratulations thing and things like that. The first thing we need to do, though, is create the sprites for all those things. So just like all the time, we start with the sprites. And so let's load up that sprite. Where are the sprites for this? Out in the shared folder. And I've got them here. Rainbow Reef. This is chapter 6. And we're looking for the title sprite. You have a couple choices for the title. You can either do that one or that one. I'm gonna do that one. But it's up to you, either one you prefer. And then we also want to make sprites for each of the buttons that are going to be on our title screen. So let's get all the buttons done. Now, if you've ever played this game, it's kind of like Breakout or Arkanoids, if you ever played that game. There's a help button, so maybe we do the help button first. And so this is the first game we're going to add some help text to it. The next button looks like a load. So you'll be able to save files and load files as well. We don't have to do anything fancy for them other than just create them. Looks like we have a quit button. Save that. So I'm saving my game at this point. Just give it a name that I can use. Once you make enough changes to a game, you probably should save it in case the power goes off or something bad happens. You don't have to do everything again. So here's sprite 4. I think we had a quit, and then we have a scores button to see the high scores screen. So we'll just call it scores. I think in the book it's named a little bit different, but there's one more. Yeah, the most important one, the start button. You ever notice that in Windows programs or Windows operating systems that to shut the computer off, you go to this start button? Does that make any sense? That always bothered me. Yeah, I guess. Okay, so we have all our buttons in place. Of course, we can't do anything with the buttons just with pictures of them. We actually have to make button objects. But I'm just going to keep going on the sprites. We also want a congratulations screen. And it gives you kind of a flashy splash screen for, hey, you won. You do want to remove the background on that one as well. Okay. That looks pretty happy. And we're going to choose a nice kind of underwater background theme. So you have a few choices here as well. I usually don't name it because we never refer to it later again. So you have two choices of background. I'm going to go with background 2. But it's up to you. You don't want to remove the background because, well, it is a background. That would make sense, right? It looks kind of fishy. Okay. So let's create our first room. And we're going to set the grid to 20 by 20. You'll see why in a second. For our background, we're going to choose the background we just created. Looks kind of fishy. And then we want to put our title screen in there. We don't have a title object yet, though. Title sprite is what we want to put in. So we have to make an object in order to do that. Now, object title is actually going to do more than just show itself. It's also going to set the score to 0 and a couple other things. And we'll use the title sprite. So for the title, we'll go to a create event, and in the create event, we want to set the score to, that's this one on the score tab. We want to set the score to 0. That's if they restart the game, it'll restart the score to 0. Okay. Now in the room, we can add the title sprite. That's here. You can just click it, so left click and drag, and then you can get it placed where you want it. We're going to use the bottom of the screen for our buttons, so this leaves a little space on the bottom for our buttons, but a nice professional looking kind of splash screen. Now most people who write computer games have no artistic talent whatsoever, so if you can find a friend that likes doing computer graphics, this is a great place to use their skills. Or if you have these skills, are lucky enough to have these skills right now, it's good to be able to make graphics like this. Yeah, it's fine. And then we're going to put the congratulations message in there as well. Okay, so now we have a congratulations object. That means we can create a room for that. And again, we'll use the background that we were using for the rest of the game. That looks good. And then we'll put our congratulations screen there. That fills up the whole screen. So, okay, so we have our first and last room now. Now we want to implement one of the buttons. Let's go do our start button. And all the start button will do is go to the next room, I guess. So this is the first time we have a mouse event, but when the user clicks on the start button, we want to go to the next room. So we go here to add event. We go to the start object, say add event. We have the mouse, and we're going to use the left button. And what we want to do is just go to the next room. Now typically when we go to the next room, we usually check to see if there's a next room. But since we put a congratulations room there, we already know there's a next room. We're not going to be going any further past the congratulations room. So you don't really have to check. You can put an effect on it if you want. So we go to add event, mouse. We're going to add a mouse event and choose left button. And that will take us to the next room. So we go here then on the main one menu, and we drag in, go to next room. Let's add the button to the room now. This will be the start button. Probably best to put the start button as the first one, because that's the one people are going to go to most often, right? Hey. Next, I don't know, probably the load button. The help button and the quit button. What is it? Start, load, and score. Then help, then quit? Okay. Yeah. Oh, a block apart? Yeah, I don't think there's enough room. Yeah, I'm going to have to scoot these around then. Oops. I thought we had space for two. If you right click, it gets rid of whatever is underneath it. Help. And finally quit. Seems like a logical order. That looks pretty nice. We have a start button this time. Let's try it again. All right, so I hit the start button and I win the game. Wow, that was an amazing game. Excitement all around. Okay, so now that we have all these buttons here, we have to figure out what should each of these buttons do. Now, the start button we've already done. The load button implies that you can save somewhere in the game. So on our screens, we're going to have a way to save games so that you don't have to start from the beginning. This is where we kind of look at the scores. We're also keeping track of lives in this game. We haven't done that before. How do you control how many lives you have? Most games you start with 3 lives. So we'll do the same on this one. We probably need to set lives here. I said 20 by 20. I guess that's right. So let's think about what has to happen in the other buttons then. Let's go to the load button. I guess it would be initiated by a left button click. Load game. So that implies that we can save a game. But again, you can only save a game when you're in the game. We're not in the game yet. So we're going to load the game. And the default file it uses to load the game is just called save game. So when we do the save game key, it's going to write the game out to the save game folder, and then if you load it, then you can pick up where you left off. Okay? So just leave the default here. So that's the load button. We've done the start and load. Help. Well, what we want to do is bring up the help window, and that's actually this is where they have you put in the help. So you'd put something like, left and right arrows to move the paddle, and you might put what the goal of the game is. The goal of this game is we're getting rid of all the evil squid things. Okay, trying to get rid of the squids. Okay, so you would write that here. You'd also put your name here, that you're the game designer, so that people know that this is your game rather opposed to somebody else's. Use the left and right arrows to okay. So you can make it really professional looking control. So again, the game controls are really simple. You just move back and forth. And this is a good place to put a backstory. Say you're a little bit more creative. You could create this whole backstory about these squids that take over the ocean and the starfishes are battling back to win. I don't know. You can get pretty creative here. Squids. Did I spell squids right? No, I didn't. Squids. There we go. So control, the goal is squids. So any other information, you might say who it was by. But then the question is, how do we get this game information to come up? So when they hit the help button, so again, it's the same event, the left button. We want to bring up the game information. Show info, I think that's the one. So drag that on. And it will show the game info. Quit, that was pretty easy, right? If they left click on that, we just end the game. Well, should we end the game? Because we want to go probably back to the start screen, right? So it does kind of end the game, but it doesn't take you completely out of the game. So yeah, that's probably what we'll do. And what it'll do is that'll jettison back to the start screen. That's the first room in the game. And then scores, we want to show the high score screen. Again, initiated with the left mouse button click. Show high score. So it'll show you the current high score screen. That way you can play against yourself and get the most points. You score points by killing squids, but you also score points by destroying little coral blocks or tiles. So let's try each of these buttons to see if it does what we want. Okay, so here's start. That one worked. Here's load. We don't have a save game, so it doesn't really do anything yet. Scores shows us the high score screen. Can't edit it, but at least we can show it. Help shows you our game information. Oh, quit. Yeah, quit probably should get you out of the game.
Yeah, not restart.
Not restart. Yeah, sorry about that.
Well, wouldn't you just press the X button?
Well, it says in the book that you're supposed to disable the escape key because that's the way you normally quit these games. But it's trying to control it a little bit better. I would suggest not disabling the escape key because if you forget to put a controller in the room and you can't hit any keys to take you back to the previous room, then you've locked up your machine and you have to go to Task Manager if it's available to stop your program. So I'm suggesting, even though the book says to do this in global game settings, don't uncheck that, okay? Leave that checked.
It's just going to be a hassle.
Yeah, it's just going to be a hassle because you crash your game or you forget to put a controller in the room and then the game will go forever and you can't shut it off. So leave that checked even though the book says otherwise. So we kind of messed up on the quit button. We don't want to restart the game because we're already at the start screen. We just want to exit the game. So we were right to begin with. So here, end game. Because the user is saying, hey, I really want to get out of this. Another thing that has to happen on the congratulations screen is we want to, again, show the high score screen and give them an opportunity to register the high score. So if we go to the congratulations screen, we want to show the screen, but then we want to wait for a couple ticks so they can say, hey, I won. And then after a while, we want to put up the high score screen and then go back to the start room. So all this can happen in the create event of the congratulations object. So we'll say create. We want to pause for a second or two. Sleep, yeah, we want to sleep for a few seconds. Now this is in milliseconds. So remember, milli doesn't mean million, it means thousand. So you want to say maybe 2 seconds. And leave redraw screen to true, because if you don't, the screen sometimes just goes black. Okay? Yeah, then show the high score screen. Show the high score screen. Give them an opportunity to respond. If you want to change the color to match up with the game, you can. You can set the colors. So maybe kind of an aqua green or something. You think one of these? And then looks green. I'll try that. Yeah. Then a dark color. Dark blue. Okay. So that kind of matches up with the color scheme a little bit better. You might change the other one as well. Okay. And then after they type in their high score, assuming that they got one, then that's when you want to restart the game. It'll take them back to the first room. Okay. So let's see if and again, I call this plumbing, just the mechanics of trying to get the game to start and end and all this. You'll note in these videos I don't follow the book exactly because I try to think about what I would do rather than what the book says. I think that's better because it allows you to understand it. This kind of teaching is called, I just call it stream of consciousness teaching, where I tell you what I'm thinking about as I'm building the game, so that eventually you'll start thinking like a programmer, because this is the way you solve problems in programming. We actually are learning computer science, computer programming with this game. You might not have noticed that yet, but that's what we're doing. Okay, so I hit the start menu. Start. So I didn't see the screen. Did you see the congratulations screen? I didn't see that. Start. Yeah, it didn't quite work, did it? Okay, so we have to look at that. The load screen, we don't know yet. Scores, yeah, that works. Can't edit it, but that's right, because we haven't played anything yet. Help takes you to the game information. Quit gets us out, right? So this didn't quite work out. I was thinking that it would actually draw the congratulations screens. This is in the create event. Okay, so the way you do this then is you'd have to set an alarm. Now we haven't talked about alarms yet, but now seems like a good time. Or when the congratulations screen gets created, we're going to set an alarm. And you have a set of a whole bunch of different types of alarms, up to 11 alarms, okay? And this is a countdown timer. It's kind of like, I don't know, if you're cooking eggs, boiling eggs, sometimes they have a timer that counts down. When it runs out of time, it starts to ring, okay? So we said we wanted it to stay on the screen for about 2 seconds. So the default room speed for Game Maker is 30 frames per second, or 30 steps per second. So if we want 2 seconds, we have to put in 60, okay? So we're saying we're going to set alarm 0 on the congratulations object. And when it goes off, we want to actually do these other two things. So I'm going to cut these out, because all we're doing is setting the alarm. That way we can see it, or see the congratulations screen. And then once the alarm goes off, that's when we want to do the other two things. Now a lot of people confuse the action of setting alarm with the actual event when the alarm goes off. Those are two different things, even though they have the same picture. Again, we set alarm 0. So when alarm 0 goes off, 2 seconds later, What do we want it to do? We want it to show the high score screen and then restart the game. Okay? The high score screen they have to respond to by saying OK or something, or cancel. So it's not going to leave right away. It's going to stay there until they respond, and then it'll restart the game. So let's see if our alarm thing works out for us. Okay, so we click start. It takes us to congratulations screen. Wait a couple seconds. Up comes the high score screen. We hit escape, and we're back to where we started. So now we've got the end of the game all figured out. Okay. Click there. Congratulations. High score screen. Hit escape. Back to the start. Okay. So what would I do next? I'd start creating the sprites for our game. This is the tile sprites. They're kind of time consuming, or the block sprites. And there's all different colors. They're pretty much all the same except for the power-up blocks. But I would start just creating the sprite for block 1. You just call it block 1. You can call it block red, since perhaps it's the red block. And this is called Super Rainbow Reef. So we want to use all the different colors of the rainbow. Here's block 1. I guess it's kind of purpley. Do we remove the background? No, it fills up the whole frame. So we don't want to do that. And I'm not sure what they recommend here. We'll check that later for precise collision checking. And what this allows us to do later is to create block objects. We're going to have lots of different colors. So this one will be block 2. And this is all busy work, right? Here's block 2. Again, don't remove the background. Another thing people remove the background on a lot in this game is the wall sprite. You don't want to do that either. Now what's weird about the wall sprite is is smaller than the block sprites. They're only 20 by 20 rather than 20 by 40. So here we're going to create the wall sprite. And again, so our wall sprite is 20 by 20. Do not say remove background. Otherwise the wall is transparent and doesn't quite work. Okay. So if you can go through and add all the other sprites that we need for the blocks at least. Some of the power-up blocks are here. All different colors of blocks. The different colors of blocks don't mean anything. They don't get different scores. They don't behave any differently. It's just visual. Okay. And then we have, this is going to be our paddle, the catch sprite. They call him Catch. That's the name of the shellfish, I guess. And then we have one called Pop. Don't choose this one, choose this one. And that's going to be the ball that we bounce around, except it's a starfish instead. But it will behave like a ball. So you might go through and add these to the game. Now in the book they suggest use this as the life image. You know, in some games they put a picture instead of a number of lives you have. We're not going to use that one. We're going to use, we might use this icon for our life sprite. Or a smaller version of Pop or something like that. Yeah, so go through and make sprites out of each one of these. And here are the squids. You might make those as well. Make sure to remove the background. So maybe you spend today just making sprites. And then we'll assume all our sprites are made. And then we'll pick up on the next step.